What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Talkin with Tuesday, and I got my good friend Greg Hammel here. What's going on?
Hey,
How
how you doing, everyone?
Hey. So, I've always wanted to have you on my podcast. We've been trying to do this for a while, and I'm glad you finally got to do it. You're one of my favorite people to talk to, so
Well,
that'd be awesome.
I like to talk, and it's I love interesting conversation and interesting topics.
Yeah, yeah, it's always. So, I did want to talk to you about one thing though, because I was telling you earlier, is like sometimes I have things prepared, but
Hmm.
I actually wanted to talk to you about this. Have you been paying attention to the what happened to Trump?
I know they raided his house,
Yeah,
and they found a lot of documents in his basement.
yeah. So what are these? Are classified documents, right? I mean, for what do you think they're for? I don't know if they've publicly said what they are yet, or if you've been following it at
Well,
all.
th-
I
they're
just thought it was interesting because it's like, oh, there he's going down. He's finally going down. And what the funny part was is my dad. He's into Trump, and you always wait for that one thing that Trump's gonna do that's real fucked up that you could finally point to and say, well, what do you say now?
January 6th
And they'll
wasn't
still
enough, huh?
no, and they still. My dad will say. I told him about it, and my dad's like, "Yeah, the Biden administration is taking advantage of their position." He still couldn't, you
Well,
know.
I was watching Meet the Press this morning, and they were talking about it. And the question of can a president classify and declassify documents?
Uh-huh.
And apparently he can, but he's got to go through certain channels, in which he didn't do.
Even when he's not like president currently, he
Hmm.
could still do that.
Well, as a no, as a sitting president, he has to do it then,
Hmm.
declassify it then. He can't take all that stuff and then say, get out of office and then say, oh, I've declassified it.
Mm.
You have to
Yeah,
actually declassify it while you're
but
in office.
you could still keep it. You just can't declassify it when you're not in
Well,
office.
I don't know that he can even keep it.
Mm.
He's got thousands of documents that you're not supposed to have. It's supposed to go to presidential archives,
Hmm.
and that goes into a presidential library, and where it's housed and stored and guarded, so that terrorists don't get nuclear secrets.
Right. Yeah, you don't want that.
Definitely. But yeah, what the hell was he doing with all that?
I don't know. It's scary. I mean, people have always said he's scary and this and that and the other thing, and nothing's ever really scared me about him, but just made me chuckle and like whatever rolled my eyes to. But this is kind of a little weird. This is a little different. I'm like, okay, what are you doing with classified documents? I mean, what are your motives here? I mean, it doesn't seem like he's this Hitler that everyone perceives him to be, but he's not a good guy either. I mean, he's not a great guy either.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. He's not a he hasn't progressed to be a tyrant,
Right. Yeah.
but
Not yet.
he
Let's hope not.
he's
But I just don't see it in him. I think he's just business guy and he likes to make commotion.
likes to make commotion for sure.
Yeah.
Well, he's taken the fifth on I think 440 questions. He's declined,
I read something about that. Yeah, he
and
pleaded the fifth. I
so
plead the fifth. I
yeah,
plead the fifth.
Which-
That's what I do. I plead the
which
fifth.
as an American you're entitled to, and
Hmm.
my advice for any American is never talk to the police and always invoke your right to remain silent.
Right.
Always.
Yeah.
Because anything you say can and will be used against you.
Sure.
And
So I mean, they're not in court yet, right? So
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're in court or at any point in time. If a cop pulls you over on the street, anything you say to him, he's going to use as evidence against you.
yeah. I mean, well, so let's just say on the street, the cop has you in handcuffs and he's asking you questions and you plead the fifth there.
How much have you had to drink, sir?
Right. I plead the fifth.
I haven't had anything to drink, sir. Oh, there's don't answer questions.
Right.
Be polite. For sure, be
Sure,
polite.
sure.
Be
You'll always be
respectful.
polite. But like, let's
But
just
but
say,
tell the cop, I'm sorry, sir, I can't answer that question. And he'll look at you and say, "Why not?" Because my attorney advised me to always invoke my right to remain silent.
Mm. So that's the way you say it,
Yeah.
with the words you choose. If you sound very,
Be respectful. Don't
Like-
don't be a dick and just
I plead the fifth.
and ignore him.
Get the fuck out of here.
just tell him that
Yeah.
you're invoking your sanction.
Oh, that would make the world a difference for sure.
And that would make the interaction with the cop,
Hmm.
because that neutralizes him,
Yeah.
and he'll stop asking questions or move on to the next stop.
Yeah, because the second you see somebody with a slight bit of attitude, it could go south quick. They don't know.
It
They're
always
dealing
does.
with all kinds of crazy people.
Yeah.
So
You want to make your interaction with a policeman as short as possible, and by being respectful and getting to the point,
hmm
get you through that situation.
yeah,
Too
100%.
many-
That's what I found out, and it works. Because I used to, when I was a little rebel kid, listen to punk rock, big mohawk, thinking, fuck the system, fuck these police. Sometimes I would give them a little attitude, and I get older, and I'm just like, no, it's like that's silly,
Yeah, fuck the police till someone's in your doorway with a gun.
Right? Yeah. Oh, where are they now? Damn it!
For sure.
I shouldn't have been in that band singing "All Cops Are Bastards."
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think they're all bastards. I think that
No.
most of them are good.
Yeah.
Most of them are really there to protect and serve.
Yeah, 100%.
But
Yeah, it's just this stigma that's been put on them. It's like cool to hate the police. You know what I mean?
it's
Like there's kids in school who hate the police and I don't even know why. They're like, oh, all the other kids hate it, so
well, a lot of inner city kids witness cops coming in and rousting
true.
people and taking people away in handcuffs for no reason.
yeah.
And
Then they gives them a reason to hate them just to see that.
well, there's the inherent distrust from a young age.
Mm-hmm.
And then as they get older and now they are the target, that distrust turns to hatred, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes cops get shot because of that.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy how like my views on things change as I get older. Like from going to this crazy like punk kid who hates everything, and I don't even know why I was mad. Like I was saying, like kids don't even know why they're angry. But now I get older and I realize a lot of different things, and it's very complicated.
Well, I
Things
think-
things are very complicated, not just black and white. And
Well, it is
one thing or the other.
complicated, and it's amazing how things are connected. Like everything we've talked about now, I feel is connected to the war on drugs
mm,
and the criminalization of those drugs. Because with that criminalization, it gives the cops authority to go in there and start rousting people and looking for those drugs.
mm-hmm,
If drugs were not illegal or if drugs were decriminalized,
mm-hmm, at least, right?
then they don't have a reason to go in there.
Yeah.
Their incentive, what are they going to go in and write a ticket? Oh, you got cocaine on you? Here's a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
No, you got cocaine on you. We just made $100,000 in profit.
Yeah,
By-
that's how they see
by-
it.
by
They look at it
prosecuting you.
at numbers almost.
Sure, because there's going to be fines, legal attorneys, then incarceration. Someone's got to pay for all that. We're gonna, and unfortunately, the whole prison system is privatized.
The
And-
whole is it all private, or is there some that aren't?
I don't know exactly what
They're mostly private,
mostly private.
if not all. Like
So
yeah.
they make money on it, and it just is a huge scam,
Mhm.
and it's a big denial of freedom. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the First Amendment, and I believe that we have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Right.
And as long as we're not impacting anybody else, we should have that.
Yeah, you're making your own decisions on your behalf, and I mean, who else? I mean, it's not hurting anybody else, but like maybe, one of your girlfriends are like, don't smoke weed, don't smoke crack.
Yeah.
That'll hurt
it's-
them, but it's not like
But it's
infringing
basic
on any
freedom.
rights. Yeah.
It's freedom. You have the freedom to drink that glass of booze,
Mhm.
but I don't have the freedom to smoke this joint.
Right. which is way less harmful.
It's freedom.
Nobody's died.
Yeah, it's about freedom,
Yeah.
and that's just my
Yeah.
take on it.
Yeah, I think it definitely drugs should be legal for sure. I mean, it seems like
Not
the war
legal.
and well decriminalized.
I
You know,
think
at
it
least
should be.
like so you don't think like there should be like there's weed stores, weed dispensaries.
Mhm.
There should be places like that for psilocybin or places like that for cocaine, or do you think it all should be in a 7-Eleven? Do you think it should just be decriminalized? How would you
I think that
like
they
it?
should all be decriminalized. I don't think anybody should be going to prison
Right.
for doing
Right,
heroin.
right.
Now, if you want to do heroin and you want to nod off in the corner and knock yourself
Get them
out,
help, you know? I think
get them help.
that's
there
the
should
way to
be
go.
there should be a harm reduction attitude
Instead of a punishment attitude.
instead of a yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if they had programs where people could go and get those hard drugs, I think that psilocybin, marijuana, I don't know about LSD, should be available at a dispensary.
Mhm.
But you should have to have a card. You should have to go through a basic training of
Mhm.
how to use those drugs,
Right.
what to do, what not to do. And then, if you want to make an informed decision at that point, now that you've been educated,
Mhm.
knock yourself
Yeah.
out.
100%. And that's
But
freedom.
and that's freedom. But
Yeah.
I have personally seen the harms from methamphetamine use, cocaine use, and heroin
Oh,
use.
so yeah.
And those drugs all cause mental illness.
Mhm.
And I don't think it's
There's
I
no
don't think-
place in it in society for it, basically.
no. I think that there is. I think it should be rescheduled. I think it should be manufactured. It should be manufactured to clean, pure standards,
Mhm.
and then available through a clinic, like they
Right.
have
Like
in
methadone.
Switzerland. Like they have in Switzerland, where users go to the clinic, they get their daily dose, and it's provided to them free from the government, and it's pure, and they get their dose, they go about their day.
There's like methadone clinics or whatever.
Probably something like that,
Yeah.
but it's fairly successful,
Right.
and I think that there's a lot of pieces in motion to bring safe injection sites to America.
Mhm.
There's still a lot of opposition to it.
Right. Yeah, because it's so demonized.
But that would get the drug supply pure. That way, people aren't dying.
Right, because all this fentanyl thing is out of
That's
control.
a big problem.
It's a big problem. So that would be one thing that would.
That
Be
would
solved.
resolve that exactly. And do we care about people or not?
Right.
I do. I think that.
I think most people do,
But
but the things that happen seems like people don't. You know, otherwise, like, why aren't we fixing it? Why aren't we doing that? But I think it's just the pushback from the public. There's also just the look of decriminalizing all, drugs. It just seems like what?
yeah, I have these conversations a lot with people,
Yeah.
and the attitude is still, with most people that I talk to, criminalize them. The drug laws are okay. When I start explaining how they're harmful, they look at me, oh yeah, that's a good point.
Mhm.
And it's like, and if we did this to resolve that, we would, if we had
Yeah. If you.
safe injection sites, if we did decriminalize, and we take away the incentive for people to have to go out and steal and rob
Mhm.
to get their fix because it's free,
Yeah.
then
It's like a domino effect to solving multiple problems when you start explaining it to people.
Oh,
It's like almost seems logical. That's like, but people don't take the time to really understand the problem or understand solutions, I guess.
but it all comes back to how everything's connected.
Right.
How everything's connected, that's good weed.
Yeah, I go to one of these dispensaries around here. There's a place called the Marijuana Factory. I go there most of the time.
You ever stand in those?
But I don't. Huh?
Ever see those grow rooms?
Yeah, there's a grower. You ever heard of Coast to Coast?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a view window,
Yeah.
and I stand there every time I'm in that dispenser. I just stand there and stare at the buds.
Yeah, I see those too.
They're quite magical.
Yeah.
You know,
They house their own strains there and
they have ayahuasca farm in
awesome.
Hawaii.
Coast to Coast?
No, no, no. There's an ayahuasca farm in Hawaii.
Oh, in Hawaii. Okay.
And I just imagine what that looks like,
Mm.
growing with all those vines and
Yeah, because that's the only one of the only climates in America that you can grow ayahuasca, right?
well, I heard a podcast with Rick Strassman, and he was talking Florida. So maybe
Florida.
Florida might have a good climate for growing some types of psychedelic plants.
Mm-hmm.
And
Florida. Oh my gosh. What
hey,
is Florida gonna do with ayahuasca? They're gonna use it all wrong.
they're going to make billions of dollars
Yeah.
because the demand for ayahuasca is so high that we need some sustainable
Yeah.
sources.
Why wouldn't pharmaceuticals jump on that? Like,
Because they can't patent it. You can't patent ayahuasca vine.
is it because the federal will stop them? The federal government will say no.
It
What?
exists in nature. It's like you can't unless you change its DNA and make it a new strain
Mm,
and make it a mutated strain, I guess.
yeah. Like one
Um,
molecule different.
Yeah, something. And people are doing that with psilocybin. Have you heard of what is it? Crossroads, something Crossroads. I forget. They're being sued right now because they applied for a patent.
What's Crossroads? It's
It's a pharmaceutical company that. I'm sorry, I don't have the details, but they're being sued for. They applied for a patent and they were granted a patent, and then these other people are challenging the patent, saying that this is not a novel substance. This is something that already exists in nature, and we'll see.
right.
They haven't decided on it yet. But
Is this kind of like the same kind of thing when like they try to like what's that one company,
Monsanto.
Monsanto? They like try to like
saying, yeah, they successfully did that. They modified corn, they
Corn,
modified
right.
tomatoes, they modified probably even cotton.
that's
Um,
just
and they have
stamp
their
it. This is ours.
well, that's and it legitimately is.
Yeah.
Legitimately is, and then they have the right to sell that product to whoever wants to buy it.
Hmm. So that's what they're trying to do with this over.
Yeah,
That's weird.
they'll modify it genetically
Mm.
and claim that it's a new item, a new discovery, and then try to market it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't see what's anything wrong with if you want to make money off of it and then also get it to people because they want it and it helps people.
Well, I don't necessarily
Like
think
it's like
it's
a win-win, right?
I don't think it's a bad thing to have a modified product. It's just like strains of weed.
Right.
You know, you want Monsanto's strain, you want brand X's strain, you want this strain. They've done a great job with what their stuff is really good.
Mhm.
Try that stuff out.
Yeah.
You know, I see that as open to innovation to some level. You know, it's a bit. Where does it stop? Who knows? As long as it's not, as long as it doesn't create a ripple effect of adverse health effects.
Mm.
You know, I don't want them to take a mushroom that is non-toxic and is pure now and has no negative health effects to something that would have some kind of, because they've modified its genetic structure. Now it's
Right.
now it causes some kind of
Oh
problem.
God. Yeah. And they would probably just throw that out into the market, and then psilocybin really would be demonized after that. If something horrible went wrong,
Sure.
then it would put a whole stop onto that.
Because it
Full
would
kibosh.
reflect on the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, people are dying of mushrooms.
Right.
Well, not these mushrooms, those mushrooms.
Yeah. And how do you argue that? Like, just throw the whole thing away.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they're gonna try to do for sure. Yeah, that would suck. That would, because I would like to see psilocybin in the same category as marijuana, in that you know they make psilocybin chocolate bars. You ever see those?
Actually, I have.
There's chocolate bars, and there's
Yes.
companies, and
Yes.
little squares, and they dose it correctly. You know what you're getting, and but I mean it's kind of like at the beginning stages, kind of like what weed was.
I've never tried them. My friend told me about some of those, and
Hmm.
um, it concerns me on the same level as pot edibles.
Right.
It's like,
That's what in the beginning stages,
yeah,
like I was saying.
this
There's
100 milligram pot edible doesn't do anything to me, but to you, 100 milligrams might just send you to left field,
right.
and you might be stuck out there for
Yeah.
for a good 7 8 hours,
Yeah.
and cursing me for giving you that 100 milligrams, but
Right.
it doesn't do anything to me, and you got to kind of find your dose.
Right. I think that's a big thing is dosage.
Personally, I like the pure product. I know exactly what I'm getting. When I look at the mushroom before I crush it up, I know that that's all I'm eating.
Mhm.
Is that mushroom,
Yeah.
and I can tell if there's any substances on it or anything. I can see it, and but who's doing anything to mushrooms? Nobody's doing anything to mushrooms. It's like
Mhm.
you can't put fentanyl in mushrooms.
No, that's one thing. Yeah, I'm never worried about with that. Yeah, who would do that?
Right.
They'd just be crazy if they were doing that.
It's not cost effective, first of all,
Yeah.
to put $20 worth of fentanyl into a mushroom that you only make $2 on.
Yeah.
Who would do that? Give me, I'll just stick to the mushrooms.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I mean, I think when I see those chocolate bars, it looks fun. It looks like okay, someone's taking it serious a little bit. I like that. I like it's. I could see the beginning stages. Like I've seen the beginning stages with weed in dispensaries. Like when I was younger, there'd be no tax. You'd go in there and get free gift bags, and it was a whole different thing. It was actually fun.
Yeah.
But I don't like dispensaries nowadays. They like tax way too much. I agree on the tax; it helps. Tax definitely does help, like the state. But
It's the cost of
it's
freedom,
it's
man.
a lot.
It's the cost of
It's a
freedom.
lot.
That's what made it legal. That's why the state got behind it, because
So they
got,
capitalize on it, and it's like
hey,
that they'll do
it's-
that with mushrooms too. I think.
if I gotta pay a little bit of money to maintain that freedom,
Hey, I still go. I still go to the store.
I'll pay whatever it costs because
Yeah.
I want the freedom.
Yeah.
And if it
Cost of freedom. God damn.
unfortunately, that is what it is. But you look at those costs, and what does those costs go to? They're taxes that
Where do they go to?
well they go to the general fund, and they grant programs for education.
Yeah.
I've never seen any of those programs as a user. You don't go
You're
to
like,
you don't go to the dispensary and see a
"Where's
thing
those
on the
programs?"
wall while you're waiting in line to get in. They should have these billboards on the wall that
This is
tell
what
about
we've done.
this is what we know. This is
Yeah.
the this is the
This
update.
is where your money's going.
Yeah, so that you can have a QR code that you could scan, and you can open up the pages and
Right. Read an article about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
but they
that
don't.
that'll make a world of difference. That if that was happening a lot more often,
Yeah.
if we would see, I mean, we
Talk
could
about
see
the
the
health effects.
we
and-
could one day drive down the road and go, oh, they finally fixed the road. And, like you could see it there,
Yeah.
but that it would be a lot cooler to see like what you said, like things more of that. Just like you see what's happening with your money, because so it's like you feel a little more good, feel a little more comfortable about it,
Exactly. Know what
instead of like, where the
And
fuck's my money
it's
going?
just going to some politicians,
Right.
slush fund. But no one should be going to jail for it.
No.
And that girl that went over to Russia, she's
Right. What's her name? The basketball player.
Yeah,
9 years, huh?
yeah.
Mm.
9 years for being stupid, for bringing
Yeah, why would you
a,
even go to
a
Russia to begin with?
well, but to
Is that where she went, right?
yeah,
Russia? Yeah.
but to bring any kind of drug, I mean, I, it's just.
No.
I mean, there's people sitting in prison in the United States for doing the same exact thing.
Mhm.
Maybe not, you know, a
Not a
CBD
weed.
pen, but
It was CBD, right? It wasn't
yeah,
even THC.
yeah. But
Man,
it's a cannabis product,
I guess so.
and
That's how they look
yeah,
at it. It just
I'm sure that there are people before Washington and Colorado legalized
mhm.
that are sitting in prison now for violations then that are legal now.
They're still in there.
Yeah, and they're still in there. And the shit's legal now. People are making money out of it. It's business as usual
Yeah,
on the
because the
outside world. Yet they are still in prison for something that they did before it became legal.
so how do they justify that? Do they say, well, you were sentenced during the time that this law was like this?
The sentence should be commuted.
Right, but
Because
is
it's
that how
now
they look at it? Like, sorry, we're
Well,
looking.
you still got 8 years left in your sentence, mister.
Um,
You still got
Man.
8 years. I mean, we don't care that it's legal now. You still got 8 years left in your sentence.
Yeah, because they're probably looking at it like, all right, well, you got arrested in this year, and then in that year, that's what the law was. So
Mhm.
you're finishing your time.
But it should be commuted.
Yeah,
Those people
you'd
should
think
be.
so.
Those people should be let out.
But like you're saying, the more people they have in there, the more money they're making.
That's right. And there's a lot of people. If there were some bill to do that, we want to let these people out. Who do you think's going to fight it? Prison guard unions.
Mm.
No way. We got to keep those people locked up. If you let those people out, we're going to have to lay off guys
Oh yeah.
because there's not going to be
So
enough
yeah,
prisoners.
they fight for that.
Yeah, we don't want to lay off people. We want to keep our attendance maximum.
And that's the problem because they're private.
Mm-hmm.
It turns into a business.
That's right. Money
That's no
moves.
good.
Well, it's
But that's what moves this whole freaking thing.
It's the way
is
the
money.
machine works. Exactly.
It's like,
but you
man.
wanna keep it in some balance there.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep people locked up for bullshit.
Yeah, when
and
it
stuff.
comes to human life and human freedom, that's like you're stepping over the line a little bit
Yeah.
for money.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the side of freedom over security. You know, who was it? Franklin said, "The man who trades security for freedom deserves neither."
Mm.
And
What Franklin?
Benjamin Franklin.
Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah,
The $100 bill.
yeah. One of our founding fathers, wise men, I guess.
A man of 1,000 quotes or 100 quotes, so they
Yeah.
put him on a $100
Yeah,
bill.
well, we say that 200 years later, but what was he really at the time? How did people really feel about guys like Franklin and Jefferson and John Adams when they were, you know, in their society? You know, I often thought about, you know, what was the attitude of the people through the Revolutionary War? Did they really want freedom? Or were these people fighting for independence? I'm sure that there were some people that were happy with the king's protection because other countries weren't attacking the colonies because they
Right.
were part of England. They were England's property.
Mhm.
So France isn't going up there and attacking them and trying to take over. But once the American Revolution happened and England was out, that made us very vulnerable. As an average citizen, now you're sitting there thinking, holy shit, we're sitting ducks out here.
Mhm. Oh man.
We're sitting ducks to
Yeah,
anybody.
so I
with
could see why people would want security over freedom,
Well,
just because
at
they're
that point-
so scared.
But at that point, we were used to fighting, and if anybody wanted to come over, I guess they would fight
Mhm.
because we had just fought off the English
Yeah.
for a while until 1812, and then we would fight them again and lose bitterly. But it still was part of our foundation. but I just wondered what the average Joe thought of when
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
when everything was going down.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it's like the times we live in today are so peaceful compared to those times. Like times of war is war all the time back then.
Was there
It's
distrust
just like
of the
it's scary. I would imagine.
politicians at that point? I mean, we have a lot of distrust now because we
I
have a lot
think
of
yeah.
reason to have a lot of distrust. We've seen, guys like Nixon and Reagan and Clinton.
Well, I take that back. I think there was probably more trust into politicians back then than there is now because there's a lot more, like, we see a lot more corruption now than back then. There was no, like, media. There was no real, like, well, I guess there was journalism, but there was, like, you know what I mean? It's like they don't really know much. They just, so I think they had more belief in that politician because there was, like,
Yeah, what does a
not
farmer
much,
in
not
Iowa know about what's going on in
right.
Philadelphia or not in this case Washington? But
Yeah,
in the early days it was Philly.
yeah, I could just see them believing more, opposed to now. I think there's a lot more distrust now, for sure. But is that a good thing? You know, like, is it eventually
Sure.
lead to a point where we realize a lot of things and then changes start happening?
Yeah, sure creates a state of anxiety though.
Yeah,
Anxiety in the culture. It's just
and there's a lot more anxiety because the culture nowadays is a lot more softer and peaceful. There's not really crazy war like there was back then.
well, we've had a lot of years of prosperity and it has. I think it's definitely made us a softer society.
We're more comfortable.
Yeah.
So if like something really bad happens, we're just like just too baffled to fathom it. You know.
Yeah. If we had the Russians coming over our borders.
Oh my God. It's like,
If
see, you can't even imagine it.
If suddenly Mexico decided to invade.
Yeah. It just doesn't seem like
people would
like it would ever
Arkansas
happen.
would be they would know.
What's going on?
Actually, I was just kind of making fun of it, but if Mexico decided to invade, I think Texas,
Oh, they're all
New
armed.
Mexico, Arizona,
They're armed to the teeth over there.
They're gonna say, "Look, bring it on, let's go."
Let's go.
I shouldn't make fun of the southern states when it comes to their weapons.
Yeah.
And thank God. I'm glad that we're an armed society.
Yeah.
Makes other countries not want to come over here.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That's definitely a factor. I think you have to. It's like if the other world powers are armed to the teeth, you gotta be too. Otherwise, you're sitting ducks. I mean, like, you can't just be taken over, but you also don't want to be a country that is also a bully and attacks either. You want to balance
For sure,
with that.
for sure. And I see, not so much lately, but I've seen the United States as that bully.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen us go around the world and do things.
Like force democracy on people, I don't think that we should, to be honest. I mean,
well, the drug laws started it. We went around and told everybody, observe our drug laws, or we aren't going to give you any foreign aid. And and people gave in. And it all started with Nixon and that whole Controlled Substance Act of 1970.
Mm. He's the one. God damn it. That's the Robert. Is that guy?
But you got to look at the times. He was dealing with revolution. He was dealing with these Vietnam protests. He was dealing with the civil rights protests. He was dealing with a potential revolution. And Reagan was the governor at the time. And they had to do something. People were
not listening.
Not listening. They were irresponsible. The anti-war protests, I shouldn't say, are not irresponsible. The drug use was irresponsible.
This was like the hippie movement and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
but
it's like everybody's on the street.
And they were all tripping on the streets, in the parks, in front of kids, in front of families, and just abusing the hell out of the stuff.
Yeah.
And
I could see why they were like they seem backed into a corner. What do we do? We gotta
exactly,
make this illegal.
Nixon
Jesus.
declared,
But
public enemy number one, dangerous drugs.
yeah,
He's talking
it's
about
here. It's domestic.
but
It's
there was
here.
there was a lot of drugs back then. The hippies were doing a lot of
Yeah.
stuff I haven't even heard of. I, there's one called STP. What the fuck is
STP.
STP?
Sounds like an STD.
Well, apparently it was a psychedelic that they were using back then, and
Oh.
they were doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I watched. I think it was Vice. What's that guy? Hamilton or
Hamilton Morris.
yeah, he went to talk to this chemist that like lived in a shack, and he was naming all sorts of compounds that they used to make back then in the days of the hippies. It's like,
Well, Alexander Shulgin, Sasha Shulgin, was like he invented MDMA, and
I think it was that guy. I think that he went to talk to. I think
it wouldn't have been. I don't.
it was like a guy and his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to. I don't know.
forget
when,
their names.
I don't know when Alexander Shulgin died. That's the only time it could have been.
Yeah,
But I know that Hamilton Morrison did. He liked Sasha Shulgin a lot.
hmm
Credited him for a lot of things. And as a chemist, he was brilliant.
yeah,
But his baby MDMA, got demonized because of VVEs. It showed up in raves and then
yeah. It's the worst
and
place
that-
you want your.
and that's when
No,
it all
it's
started.
like no, no.
They were having too much fun, and
Yeah.
the government had to step in.
Yeah, just like the hippie movement. Well, it's part of it, right? Man, what a time that would be crazy to live in. But I could see why Nixon would want to do that. But like, do you think they did it a little too overboard?
Well,
I mean, yeah, you want to give people freedom, but all right, now this is too much freedom.
they just slammed the door.
There's
on
kids
everything.
around.
They slammed the door. There was a lot of progress in the mental health department before it got out of the lab. Before it hit the streets, they were, in the 50s and 60s, they were using it in psychotherapy. Things that they're discovering that it works for now, and things
Mhm.
that they're approving it for use for now. They were doing in 1963, but by 65, it was on the streets and it was rampant. But look at what happened culturally. We had a major shift. All of a sudden, people were fed up with what was the way people were being treated.
Mm-hmm.
They were fed up with guys getting shot up in the war and coming back, and we were seeing what was going on TV, and we were fed up with it,
Mm-hmm.
and we went into protest, and a lot of that was fueled by that the insights that came from all of that psychedelic use.
Yeah. So it was like
But it was very
almost like a blossoming of awareness.
exactly, and a blossoming of we're fed up,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not going to do this anymore.
Yeah, and that's
And that was-
trickled down into still.
But that was very
People
threatening
now.
to the government.
Mm-hmm.
That they were seeing
Just
that as-
because people were on the streets and not in control, they wanted people to go back to work. What are you doing? Basically,
dispersed.
it was like crashing the economy almost.
Yeah, the mob mentality got. They wanted to get rid of that, and they saw the drugs. They couldn't get rid of that mob mentality, so they saw that the drugs that the mob used, if they criminalized it,
Mm-hmm.
then they could criminalize. Then they could arrest those people.
Yeah.
You can't arrest someone because they're anti-war, but you can arrest them if they have LSD or marijuana in their
Right.
pocket. And once you arrest them, now they're no longer a voter because they're charged with a felony. So you
Yeah,
essentially eliminate that person as a voting threat and as a
Wow.
civil threat.
yeah, that's definitely premeditated.
Yeah. He's a racist because most of the people that were using pot at the time were the blacks,
Hmm.
and they were the ones that were rioting uh, for civil rights.
That's why. And then they killed Jimi Hendrix.
No, they killed Martin Luther King.
Yeah. That.
That
Yeah.
was well, someone killed Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Someone killed John F. Kennedy. We never know.
It seems like the people who always try to bring about the truth, or you know, hey, listen up. This is, bam, they kill him.
But you look at how many people got killed around the Clintons.
Is it because it's like, shut up, we're making money,
Right.
like you're gonna
It-
screw this up?
it's part of some kind of system.
It all goes back to money. It's like almost, it's like, or power, right?
Money and power and greed and corruption.
It's like I've been listening to a lot of punk rock lately. In high school, it's like it's one of my favorite music and types of music. And it's like a lot of punk rock. What they talk about when in their songs is like how the corrupt government, and they try to like bring awareness to, just like kind of like the hippies would do. And it's like with all the stuff that's going on nowadays, it's like this is a great time for punk rock to make a resurgence. It's like
Sure.
it almost seems like that. Like it just feels like that could happen. Just because of.
Did you happen to check out that Woodstock '99 documentary on Netflix?
Mm-mm. I was going to, but I never got to it.
Check that out.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a day. Well, that was a weekend, and they were fed up. They were those kids were exposed to the epitome of neglect from the venue in the sanitation, the water supply, the cleanup of trash. I mean, the place was just a mess, and they weren't doing anything about it. And these kids paid a lot of money for their tickets for that weekend, and there was a lot of price gouging amongst the vendors, and then it was hot. There was no shade, and the water that they were giving them was contaminated.
Ah.
Yeah, and they just were fed up with it, and they rebelled, and they rioted, and they tore that place apart.
Mm.
It's a pretty good documentary.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's definitely a good
Is
documentary.
that when Woodstock ended? Did they have any more after?
No, but that was that whole situation came about, in my opinion, because of the venue, because of their abuse, their neglect. There should have been cleanup for sure of the porta potties. Porta potties by the end of day one were already above maximum. Why they didn't have sanitation trucks coming in and clearing those out, and
And
crews.
like, how long is that festival?
3 days.
3 days, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I've been to 3-day festivals, and it's crazy after the
Yeah.
first day.
And then people were breaking the plumbing, and water was flooding, and water was flowing down through the porta potties and mixing with the porta potties, and then making mud, and people out there
Oh,
playing in the
fuck.
mud. And it was like
Oh my god.
it was pretty gross.
I'm just gonna. Hold on a second. That's alright. Whatever.
But it's kind of interesting. Their whole theme was peace, love, and understanding, and the thing that
It just went to shit.
it didn't have any peace, love, or understanding.
Wow.
But you know what? I went to a festival of similar proportions in 1983 called the US Festival, and that was put on by
The
Apple.
Oz Festival?
Us,
Us Festival?
yeah, and that was put on by Apple, and
When was this?
1983.
Oh, 83.
Memorial Day 1983. They had one in 82, and then they had another one in 83.
Okay.
And I did not, and I was there for 3 days. I did not see one incident of violence amongst anybody. I didn't feel any vibe of hostility.
Mhm.
That was peace, love, and understand.
Yeah.
Um, I drank the water. They had fountains similar to what they had at the,
Wasn't contaminated.
it wasn't contaminated. I didn't get sick. I didn't get trench mouth, and you know, there was no issues.
Would you like some water?
No, I'm good.
You good? Okay.
They at Woodstock, they took away their water as they came in. They wouldn't let them allow to bring their own water, which who the hell knows who made that decision? Okay, that was the first problem.
Yeah.
At the US Festival, we brought containers and we brought little spray bottles and things like that.
Mhm.
And the water that we filled them with was what they provided, but it was, I guess, San Bernardino city water, and it was clean enough.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what they had out at Woodstock. It could have been well water.
Yeah.
Who knows? It could have been reclaimed rainwater for all I know. But
All that porta potty stuff could have went in there too. Right?
the porta potties at the US Festival,
No, I mean in Woodstock.
those were pretty ripe as well.
Really?
You wanted to avoid those, and we did have some mud,
Mm.
but
I'm sure it was nothing like
there was
Woodstock.
no rebellion. There was no hostility. When the
Yeah.
show was over, it was over, and it was late, but it was late and it was hot. It was 105, 110. I don't even know.
Really?
Hotter than shit, but we got through it.
What kind of
Yeah.
music was it?
Heavy metal.
Oh, okay.
It was well.
What'd
The
you see?
the first day was like the new wave bands, Stray Cats, NXS, the Thompson Twins.
Never heard of any of these.
Yeah. I'm gonna. Okay, but the heavy metal Sunday was Motley Crue started it off.
Okay, Motley Crue. I know them.
Ozzy Osbourne,
Okay.
Triumph, Judas Priest,
Okay.
the Scorpions, and Van Halen.
Okay.
And Van Halen.
Did Van Halen do their jump stuff, or did they?
It was pre-Jump. This was
Okay.
'83. Jump didn't come out till '84. But
Okay.
you know, they were at the top,
Okay.
and
They were peaking.
they were pretty wild, and then the crowds that went to see them were pretty wild, and it was a wild experience.
Is that when they went downhill? Is when they started doing jump?
Um,
So you caught it right before.
I don't know that Van Halen ever went downhill.
No.
No, I liked everything that Van Halen ever did.
Yeah,
Whether
but
it
I
was
think
with
that there wasn't
David-
there like a lot of people like hating their new sound.
It was well, people don't want to.
People hate everything.
Yeah, they want to hate, and they don't want to flow with the changes.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, people hate that when the band like starts switching up or experiment, or any musician when they start
Right.
experimenting.
Well-
Oh, they hate it.
well, Eddie Van Halen starts playing keyboards.
Yeah.
Okay, what the fuck? Where's our rock god? Where's our
Yeah.
guitar god? We want to hear.
You're
we wanna
doing us
hear-
a disservice.
Yeah, we don't want to hear you playing keyboards. We want to hear you playing guitar.
Yeah.
Shut up. Okay, I liked Eddie Van Halen's keyboards, and I liked when David Lee Roth left. What are they going to do? They got to get another singer. They get Sammy Hagar. Now people hate him because they got Sammy Hagar. Shut up.
You see, for me, when it comes to changing the singer, that's when I think I can't do it.
Why?
I don't know. It just doesn't.
There's bands
hit
that have
right.
multiple singers. Look at
Yeah.
the Beatles.
Actually,
all
you know,
four
like,
of those guys sang different songs, and you got a different singer on every one.
I actually contradicted myself because there's a band I listen to, Crass, and they've had a girl singer, two guys sing, and I've liked it, you know. So
If it's a
it could
good song,
happen.
it's a good song, no matter
Yeah.
who's singing it.
yeah,
And
you like the band enough.
There were
and-
songs that Sammy Hagar sang that I loved, and there were songs that David Lee Roth sang that I loved,
Yeah.
and vice versa. There were songs that I didn't like by both of those guys. But
Yeah.
I've liked, everything that they've done, everything that Van Halen was just an awesome musician. He was in the musician world. He was a super athlete. He was
Yeah.
LeBron James,
Yeah.
and he could do everything. He could sing. He could play guitar. He could play drums. He could play bass. He could play keyboards. Anything,
Versatile.
anything. He was just a genius,
Yeah.
and the world lost a lot when we lost him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I never looked at it that way. Like how you said, you like songs with David Lee Roth and
Mm-hmm.
like songs with but 'cause there's a band that I listen to called The Casualties. It's a punk band, and they switched singers, and I immediately just dismissed the whole band. And it's like when you heard you say that, it's like, well, maybe I should give this new singer a shot, and maybe I'll like songs that he made and look at it that way. I tend to do that with some bands that switch singers,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know.
Well,
I don't know why. I guess it's just everybody else does it, so I'm like, all right, yeah.
well, there's some bands like they'll have like Chicago. You probably never heard of
I've heard of Chicago. Yeah.
Suddenly, my age suddenly got into it. Let's see, this is a band that came around in 1970. Okay, they had a lot of different singers,
Mhm.
but you've heard of Styx, right?
Yeah.
So Styx has had three different singers.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they've had hits with all three different singers.
Mm.
And the sound definitely is different with the different singers, but the music itself is still the same. And as a musician, I can kind of hear the similarities between the songs.
Mhm.
But for the layperson, it all sounds different because
Is
it's a different singer.
The similarities in terms of how the instruments are being played.
The sounds
because
of
it's
the
the same.
instruments.
Yeah,
The,
it's the
the
same
effects that
people.
most guitarists use the same effects
Mhm.
most of the time. Like when I listen to Rush's Alex Lifeson, I can identify his guitar because he uses certain chorus effects
Yeah.
that I recognize.
Yeah, I do that with. I listen to a lot of EDM, electric dance music, and I listen to so much of it that I could even hear like just a, and I'd be like, oh, that's that guy.
Yeah.
Like you could. There's certain. It's hard to explain, but there's a certain sound
Yeah.
you hear that's similar to most of
You
the
hear
songs.
their characteristics.
Mhm.
Like I could hear a Stevie Ray Vaughan guitar lick
Mhm.
anywhere.
You'd be like, oh, that's him.
There was a benefit show after the tsunami from the Sumatra earthquake back maybe 2010, I think, 2008.
The
remember
Japan earthquake, the Japan tsunami.
No, it was what down in the Indian Ocean, hit Thailand, India, the whole southern coast
Oh
of
no,
Asia.
I
Yeah,
might have, but
Yeah, there was a big tsunami, and they had a relief to get money to those people.
mhm.
And John Mayer was playing, and John Mayer comes
Over
on
there,
stage
he went over there to play.
at that benefit. Yeah, it was kind of around the world. They were doing it at a lot of different venues, and they
Mhm.
were linking them all up and televising the whole thing.
Mhm.
And John Mayer's playing this guitar that looks like hell. It's all beat up. It's a Strat, and it's black and white. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, you're on a international stage. The
Hmm.
whole world is looking at you playing your song. Why do you play that beat up old guitar? And he played a lick. And bing! Light went off in my head. That's Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar.
Oh, really?
Then I thought, oh, you're on the international stage. You gotta play Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar.
Then
There's
it
no
all
way you
clicked.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it did. Then I had a whole new appreciation for the song
So
he was
you
playing.
knew it was his guitar because of
Because
like,
of the sound.
the sound of
Yeah,
it, really?
Yeah, because musicians tune their guitars. They use
Yeah.
different pickups. They use different strings. They alter their guitar sounds to what they want.
I thought what you were referring to as what you hear in their sound is how they're playing it.
That too. But in this case, it was the actual guitar sound, the sound
Wow.
of the, just that particular note.
Wow.
rang. It something in my brain connected it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar.
Oh, that's crazy. Wow.
But that was kind of a cool moment. Only I got to enjoy it.
Yeah. You're looking around like no one else knows this.
Well,
you didn't feel the urge to tell it, like look over and be like, hey, that guitar up there?
I think at that time I was watching it by myself. And I was like, oh, man. That would have been a cool thing if
you were watching on TV.
Yeah, I was watching on my TV. It just happened to be something that was on, and I tuned in, and it was quite moving. Sarah McLachlan was on it, and she brought me to tears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the way she sings in her pet commercials.
Yeah. It might have even been that song.
Oh, really? In the arms of an angel.
Right. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I think it might have been. But
She's got to play that one. That's what everyone knows her for. So everyone's like, play the arms of an angel.
Yeah. But just as a musician, she's incredible.
Yeah, and especially for that moment.
Yeah. But makes me grateful that as an American, we have systems that protect us from those things. The whole Pacific tsunami warning system. If an earthquake goes off in Japan, which it does quite often, it could generate a tsunami that could hit the west coast of the United States.
Really? All the way over here?
Sure. Oh, that tsunami that that came from Sumatra. Sumatra is northwest Indonesia. Okay, you got Australia, then you got Indonesia's above it,
yeah.
and then off to the left or off to the west is Sumatra, it's a big island.
Okay.
And about 75 miles off the coast of Sumatra was where that earthquake was centered. And it caused I think it was 150-foot drop in the sea floor, which caused a massive displacement of water because all of that water now had to fill that hole.
Oh, shit.
And when that happened, it made this enormous splash that sent this pulse out 360 degrees
both
in
ways.
every direction.
Damn.
And the first place it hit was Thailand, which was right above the center, and just above.
Man.
And this pulse creates a river that you can't escape from. It's with a river massive. You can get off to the side, but there's no side in this, and it's just a wave that just comes on land and goes in who knows how far.
Yeah.
Depends on the strength of the pulse. And,
it's so crazy how powerful that fucking ocean is.
Japan has experienced it enough that they've made channels that the tsunami is supposed to go through.
Really? How?
Yeah.
Channels like underwater?
No, in their infrastructures.
Oh.
I remember when the tsunami hit Japan a few years ago, people standing up on the ledge watching all the debris and everything flow underneath. But
they're just ready for it. That's crazy.
Yeah, some places are taking steps. I notice along Pacific Coast Highway, I see tsunami escape route signs that show, or tsunami warning zones. That
God, how could you even escape tsunami? I mean, they have these
Well,
warnings. Like, how would they even warn?
Okay,
like,
suppose-
so tsunami's coming.
Yeah,
They don't have like those Russian air horns anymore, right? So it's like
no, but you get Amber Alerts on your phone.
Oh,
right?
okay, yeah. That'd be the
Something
way
would
to
go
do it.
off on your phone and say, tsunami warning.
Get the fuck out now.
Yeah, evacuate now. And then you get out on Pacific Coast Highway, and now you're wondering which way do I go?
Yeah.
Well, if you know that Sunset is an escape route, go towards Sunset. The canyon roads. You want to get to higher ground. You want to go up the canyon roads.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, everyone else does too.
Oh yeah, we're sitting in the middle of a giant. We're stuck here if something happens. It'd be hard to get out. I think the best place to live is like a couple miles outside of a big city, or at least like. I love being by the coast, but it's like stuff like that. big tsunamis like that is like, oh man.
Well, I'm 61 years old, and in 61 years, I've never heard of a tsunami hitting
Yeah,
Santa
it's a
Monica
first
Pier.
for everything.
There is, but you could go, you know, 300 years,
Right.
500 years, 1,000 years.
Yeah,
Who the
that's
hell
true.
knows? You know, when it comes to nature, anything that I was just talking to my wife just the other day about um, the Younger Dryas meteor impact theory,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, a meteor could happen at any time,
R-
any day, at any time of any day, and it could totally change everything.
That guy Randall Carlson,
Oh yeah, Randall
he
Carlson.
scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, yeah, and
I've showed my dad like when he's like naming off like from 1990 to now like all the near misses.
yeah.
I was showing my dad and he was like, "Oh my god!" I was freaking him out. Yeah, he scares me.
Yeah, he was talking about the crescents along Madagascar that are 1,000 feet high, which would
Crescents?
indicate, yeah, these. No, I'm sorry, chevrons. These erosion marks that when the wave comes up, it comes up to a peak and then it comes down and it leaves a V, an upside down V,
Okay.
on the hillside. And each time it comes up and as it recedes, you can see these V's on the mountainside,
Okay.
and they're 1,000 feet high, which means that
1,000 feet.
the tidal wave that hit there was 1,000 feet high,
Oh my god.
and that was generated by meteor impact in the Indian Ocean.
Oh my god. 1,000 feet.
Yeah. So I was listening to Radiolab, and they were talking about the impact that killed the dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that they found in North Dakota.
Where did that meteor hit?
It hit off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula, which is near Cancun.
Okay.
So that meteor hit. It was about 5 miles in diameter, which means that it instantly was 5,000 feet deep, and it instantly vaporized a massive amount of rock, which is hard to imagine. Rock being vaporized. I mean, heat rock up enough, it's going to melt.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to turn into a liquid. Heat it up even more past its boiling point, which who knows what the boiling point of rock is.
Yeah.
Then it turns into a vapor. Well, all of this massive rock immediately was vaporized, and it was blasted out into the atmosphere. And then it cooled. When it cooled, it turned back into rock, and it had weight. And gravity kicked in, and now it's coming through. It's coming back down.
Fuck.
And it's coming back down so fast, and it's coming through the atmosphere that it's turning into molten rock.
Oh
So
shit!
now
So
you
it's
got
like
it's raining fireballs.
raining fireballs. Oh my god!
Volcanic fireballs.
How long after the impact did this fireball rain happen? Like,
who
was
knows?
it years or was it like
Probably.
instantly or not
it-
instantly, but
It probably lasted quite a while.
man,
There was a lot of debris blown out into the atmosphere, but
just get up from the rubble after the first
yeah.
thing and then
But
you
in
look up.
North Dakota, they found
Oh, shit.
trees. They found trees with saltwater fish wrapped around them from the impact. So the
Like imprinted into the tree.
Yeah, pretty much. So and they're fossilized. So the impact happened off the coast.
Okay.
It happened off the coast of Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula, which is at the southern end of the Gulf of Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Generated a tsunami in the Gulf of Mexico that came on land, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida area,
Mm-hmm.
and all the way across the United States to North Dakota with enough force to slam that fish into that tree and wrap it around it and make it fossilized. Well, it
Just
fossilized over time,
over
but
time,
it just embedded it into that tree.
Damn. That's wild.
and not just one or two, a lot of them, and that it just gives you a how big was the tsunami? How big was the tidal wave that came on land that
Made fossils out of fish.
there was no people there around then, but those would have been people sitting in Biloxi, Mississippi, or Mobile, Alabama, staring up at 1,000-foot tidal wave.
Oh my God.
Anything can happen anytime.
Yeah.
And
100%.
when it comes to nature, and
You would see people on the tree.
Yeah.
Fossilized right in the tree.
But the ensuing ice age that follows it, the Younger Dryas was an impact that they think was a series. Actually, I think it was Randall Carlson was saying that he thought it was a series of comet impacts, about 10 of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
12,000 years ago, and which kind of explains why they would have buried Göbekli Tepe.
That's what I've always thought. I don't I've heard them talk a lot, and I don't think I've ever heard them say that.
Maybe they built Göbekli Tepe, and all of a sudden the first impact happened, and then they're like, "Oh, the gods are mad now."
Yeah.
And then the second impact,
save it.
What should we do? Another impact happened.
Yeah.
Gods are really mad. Bury it.
Yeah.
You got to get rid of it.
But that's in Turkey, right?
Yeah.
So, and these impacts were North America?
Who knows?
Because didn't they? What Randall Carlson talks about, it comes
Yeah.
all down there.
Yeah.
So, do you think from Turkey they could see these impacts happen all the way in but it happened around the world, right? It wasn't just North America. I think North America is where he talks about where they hit and moved all that ice down.
Well, that could have been the end of the Younger Dryas, because there's two impact theories. First one started it. First one caused all the debris to go up into the atmosphere. The second one, and once the debris got up in the atmosphere, we went into an ice age, and the 2-mile sheet of ice built up over Canada.
Oh, so it was a whole nother fleet of
Right, so we're in the middle of this ice
asteroids.
age, and we got this sheet of ice that covers all of Canada and half of North America.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get another impact 1,200 years later
Jeez.
over North America that melts the ice sheet and causes the massive flooding that Randall Carlson was talking about.
Okay.
And all that water from that. But then I heard Dr. Robert Schoch talk about it could have been a coronal mass ejection.
What's
And
that?
Coronal mass ejection is when the sun has a giant storm and it blows out this massive amount of plasma.
Like a solar flare?
Well, yes.
But like a massive one?
Massive one. And we had one in the 1800s that caused a tremendous amount of lightning strikes. And a lot of the telegraph stations and the telegraph system were hit by lightning strikes that ultimately killed telegraph operators. Many telegraph operators were killed during that
Oh, they were
event.
killed. Oh.
Yeah. And that could happen. But Robert Schoch was saying that it would be like a hurricane of lightning strikes.
Robert Schoch, no pun intended.
Yeah,
hurricane of lightning strikes, man.
Yeah, and anything that's above ground is getting hit by that. And lightning is hot.
Mm-hmm.
And that could have caused, but who knows? Who knows? Something caused that to happen. And we had massive flooding that is evident all throughout the northern United States, through Washington and Montana and Idaho. The whole flow pattern from that melt off.
Yeah, I always when I hear about all this stuff, I just picture the humans going through. They had to go through and live through all of this. You know what I mean?
Well,
because
sure.
we've lived for,
for sure, the
so
ones that
long.
lived
We had to
12,000 years at that first impact, which they found a crater off Greenland that dates back 12,000 years, and they think that was the one that caused that whole Younger Dryas start. And they found that from the receding glacier
Mm-hmm.
in Greenland. All of a sudden they found, oh, there's a giant crater there.
Oh shit.
So they started investigating it, and they came up with 12,000 years. However, they come up with those conclusions.
Yeah, they say that if you take away all the foliage or the green, everything, like basically flat out the Earth, it looks like the moon. It has a bunch of craters everywhere,
Yeah.
but we don't really see it because there's
Sure.
trees and jungles and
Sure.
all kinds of stuff. Sand is covering up a lot of it, and
Bulldozers.
yeah. But yeah, they say if you take away all the stuff, it would basically look like the moon.
Sure. Yeah, we've been hit a lot, and it could happen again.
Mhm.
The Earth passes through the torrid meteor stream, and Graham Hancock talks about that a lot, and he describes it like trying to cross a interstate highway.
Yeah, I heard him talk
at
about
rush hour and not get
blindfolded. Yeah,
Yeah, and not
Just
get
drive
hit,
in.
right?
Yeah, because like it passes through. There's like a ring of asteroids going
Yeah.
one way or the other.
Basically
and
a
our
debris
Earth
field.
goes through it like twice a year.
Yes.
Yeah,
We go through it in October.
it's like a
in
week
June,
long. It's like
yeah,
10 days long or
in
something.
June and October, and things can happen, but we know where most of the big ones are,
Mhm.
and we can and predict our trajectory as we come around because we
Yeah.
already know. Because some of them are still, some of them are just floating out there, and some of them are actually moving. And
Yeah, I mean, and everything's so far apart. Like it might seem like, I mean, they use that analogy as a freeway going in an intersection or whatever, because it's like that more so than if we're like not going through that, there's like nothing basically. But if you look at it on a broader scale, I guess it's like it seems that way, but like we're really very, very still far apart. But it's more of a chance,
sure.
way more of a chance.
Well, I remember
That's what I'm trying to say.
in '97, I think it was '97, the Hail Bob cop. There was a comet that they named Hail Bob.
Hail Bob.
Hail Bob, HALEBOP. I think
Hail Bob.
from the guys who discovered it.
Mm-hmm.
But you could see it with the naked eye. I remember going to. I used to play hockey early in the morning, and we would start at 5 o'clock in the morning. So that meant me getting to the rink at 4:30. 4:30. It's pitch black out.
Yeah.
And I remember looking up in the sky, and I could see that comet clear as day.
What, like, you know how when we were in Hawaii and we saw the space station
Mhm.
fly by? Was it like that?
Clearer.
Was it? I mean, was it like moving like that, or was it?
No, it was. It was moving every day, but it looked still.
Oh, it looks still.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was up there, and I just looked just amazed in it.
Where was it? Was there not a lot of light pollution?
It was bright enough that I saw it in Los Angeles.
Oh, in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was here, and look up in the morning. It was dark. Maybe there was no moon or anything that night, no light pollution from that or something. But I just remember looking up and seeing it, and it was clear as day.
Wow.
And a couple of my buddies were talking about it, and the next thing I heard about, some cult, Heaven's Gate cult. Bunch of people thought there was a spaceship following it or something, and
Oh my gosh.
it was there to pick them up, and
Of course.
they had to drink the magic.
They needed
potion.
something to believe in.
Yeah.
That was their. They latched onto it. This is it. That's crazy. Yeah.
I feel sorry for people who get caught up into that whole mindset of
Very gullible.
Yeah.
Gullible people.
Well, I think we're all on the spectrum of
Yeah.
what
we're
we'll
all-
believe, right?
we're all susceptible to it.
Yeah, we might believe a story from a good con man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think so for sure. Anybody can. I mean, we all have our beliefs. We got essentially conned into those.
Well,
Not conned, but you know what I
but
mean.
I think that the internet and the abuses of the internet have taught us to be wary of bullshitters,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
anybody's a potential bullshitter. So everybody should be be treated with a level of wariness
And
until they prove themselves.
this goes back to what I was saying. Like nowadays, we distrust the government more because we're more aware of, like, you know what I mean?
We're more aware of their abuses and where they've abused us in the past and didn't admit to it. And
Yeah,
hey, wait a minute, you guys have been doing this for years.
yeah, it's fucked up. But I'm glad it's getting noticed. Then some real change will start happening. It's like change doesn't really happen until somebody's pushed in a corner. Unfortunately, it's like we have to wait till.
And even then, who knows? Sometimes people demand change, then it goes back to business as usual.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Look at the We Too, the Me Too.
Me too. Yeah.
They were all about exposing everything for a minute. The whole women's movement, when they overturned. No, when Trump got into office and the woman movement started and they stormed Washington, D.C., there was 1 million women out there in the streets, pissed off as hell. Supreme Court overturns Roe versus Wade. Where are the women? There was a little bit of noise, couple protests here and there that I heard about, but I thought they overturn Roe versus Wade. They take that right away from the women. The women are going to be so mad they're going to be in the streets,
right?
Like they did in Washington D.C.
Didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
You were like expecting, like, oh, here it comes.
Yeah, I expected them to.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
I wonder why.
I don't know. It takes a lot of work,
Yeah.
You got to get on a plane.
I wonder if it's just like
fly to Washington D.C. Pay for a ticket.
Yeah. People don't got the time or the money anymore.
But they did it in 2016 when they were protesting Trump. They came from all over the place.
Trump's just that hated, huh?
I guess. But take away their right to have an abortion and they don't really care. I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, it's like, because everybody that I talk to or everybody, that I hear it from, they're really sad about it. But yeah, if no one did anything about it, I wonder why. Maybe it's just because everyone's just given up on, like, there's no way it'll change anyway.
Or it's the people
Whatever,
you're talking
screw
to.
it, it's tired.
Yeah, the people you're talking to live in California, where we can still get it. But if you're living in Louisiana,
That's true.
But if you're talking to someone who lives in Louisiana or Alabama, they can't. They can't get it.
Man, that sucks. Yeah.
Now they're gonna have to have.
Now they're gonna have to get another plane ticket to.
Yeah, or have a kid they didn't want.
Yeah.
Or whatever, but it's still it's an erosion of freedom. That's a huge freedom thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
what was it like, being fought for 50, 70 years or something like that?
I think the initial declaration was 72 or 73, something like that.
It's a long time for nothing to happen, or to go backwards.
Well,
essentially,
it just took enough commotion for enough years and sway 5 people. Because it ultimately came down to those 5 people, those 5 judges.
Yeah, I think, is that the problem? Is those guys that they're in there too long? I mean,
they're following a political agenda.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're following, what was their, you look at any of them and they're all so politically motivated, and they get appointed by politicians and
career politicians.
Trump appointed 3 of them. 3 of them, and they all 3 voted to take it away, to deny that freedom. Yet they're the party that are supposed to be the patriots. They're the ones that are supposed to be the freedom party.
The Republicans.
They're the whole the whole Second Amendment party.
Did like a whole switch happen?
Well, it's like I said. I've made the joke before. In Texas, they're all about freedom until someone breaks out a joint.
Yeah. What's
that motherfucker's smoking pot.
Yeah, what's
Lock
that
that motherfucker up. Yeah, they're all about freedom until someone breaks out a joint.
Yeah, what is that? That's weird. You would think there would be one of the first states to.
You would think that Texas, of all places,
Yeah.
would support your right to smoke cannabis.
That's probably gonna be the last state too.
Well,
They're their own country.
and Rogan goes over there and he talks about the freedom, and it's like,
Mhm.
yeah. What if you get caught with mushrooms
Yeah.
in Dallas, Texas? What is the penalty?
Going down.
20 years?
You're going down. Really? You think?
Well,
Just for a little bit?
20 years for pot.
Fuck. Yeah, it'd be a lot worse.
Yeah, you'd
You'd
think.
think.
Yeah.
Man.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Drug laws.
Yeah, goes all comes
Just-
back to drug laws,
And
to the
for
war on
me,
drugs.
I don't do any of those hard drugs. I don't do prescription drugs. I don't really do anything but I smoke some pot.
Mm-hmm.
I like mushrooms.
All natural.
I like ayahuasca. Those are like the only three things that I do.
They're all natural. I mean, everything's natural technically, but you know what I mean.
But for me, all three of those things facilitate my communion with God,
Mm-hmm.
particularly mushrooms. Mushrooms, I hear a voice. It talks to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've thought about many mushroom trips and many conversations that I've had with this voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, what is this voice that I keep hearing? And my conclusion, it's God.
Mm-hmm.
And it's made, having that ability kind of gave my brain the plasticity to be able to hear that same voice in my non-high states, my normal states. I can
Mhm.
still hear that voice. I still have those conversations. Not as much, but I can still hear that conversation.
Right.
But that's a very sacred thing to me.
Sure.
That's something that is something so much deeper than even freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Is that ability to have that communion with God, and whatever that is, and that in no way, when I'm sitting in a dark room with music on,
Mm-hmm.
that in no way is it impacting anyone else on
Sure.
the planet, and is not imposing any restrictions on anything. And it's a fundamental freedom that
Mm-hmm.
that is denied. But get off that freedom soapbox. But
You hear that, Texas?
yeah. But it facilitates that communion with God.
Yeah.
And it's a connection to God that I have not been able to find in any church, in any retreat, with any level of self-improvement,
Yeah.
yoga, meditation. None of it has. It is unique amongst its own. And
Yeah.
ayahuasca, although it's different, it facilitates a same communion
Right.
with God.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always a positive thing. Always, I
Well,
think. I mean,
It
again, people think that's wrong, and it's because it's demonized. But I think the more awareness, that we get out about it, like we were talking about psilocybin becoming decriminalized and things like that, it does help a lot of people therapeutically. It really does, and that's
well, there's one thing.
something that's
There's one thing that I just occurred to me that shouldn't be. I don't want to say decriminalized. That should all be decriminalized. But there's a lot of talk about legalizing a lot of these psychedelic plants,
mm-hmm.
and there's been a lot of pushback by Native Americans to not legalize peyote because they're worried that the legalization of peyote will lead to the overconsumption of the plant.
And like ruin it spiritually.
It would make it go extinct.
Mm.
That's what they're worried about, because it becomes so popular that everybody's
Right.
going to eat it all up.
Uh-oh.
And its stuff grows really slow, and there's only a limited supply of it,
Yeah.
and they want to keep it illegal
I can see why.
so that people won't come
Yeah.
in and harvest it all.
Yeah, because that's part of their whole thing, or their whole ritual, and
major part of it.
their culture.
But the San Pedro cactus, on the other hand, which contains the same psychoactive drug,
Mescaline.
is more than readily abundant.
Oh, is it?
Oh, it's San Pedro cactus is everywhere.
Oh, okay.
You know, there's
They're
thousands
just
of
worried about
home
their
gardens that have San Pedro cactus.
Oh, okay.
You can and the psychoactive effects are the same. But now
So they just don't like the San Pedro cactus? They don't, or they're just worried about their certain strain of
they want to preserve the peyote.
okay.
They want to preserve the peyote, and
So peyote and mescaline are just almost the same, just slightly different.
well, peyote is the plant, and mescaline is the alkaloid that
okay.
it contains. But the San Pedro cactus contains the same alkaloid.
Hmm. Well, I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if there's an abundance of the San Pedro cactus, why shouldn't they just not be worried that if there's an abundance?
Well, legalize the San Pedro cactus, but don't legalize the peyote. They want to keep it illegal so that people won't harvest it.
Oh.
And if the San Pedro is legal and the San Pedro is already legal. If it remains illegal, then anyone who wants mescaline has a source,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have to go to the peyote to get that.
Mm. I see.
And I think that we should observe and use things that are sustainable, like the mescaline from the San Pedro. Also, the 5-MeO DMT that they get from the Sonoran desert toad frog, the desert frog, desert toad.
That's a desert toad? I thought it was like a jungle toad or something.
No, it's a Sonoran desert toad.
Mm.
And it has glands that secrete a venom that has.
Is that the one where they burn on you?
No, that's the tree frog in South America.
Oh, okay. I'm mixing them up then.
Yeah, the Sonoran desert toad has little packets, little glands on its skin that have this white milky venom that they secrete to protect themselves. Well, if you milk them and you put that stuff on glass and let it dry and then scrape it and smoke it, it gives you a 5-MeO DMT experience, but that's not sustainable. We need more sources of.
Can't just farm all these frogs and.
Yeah, I mean it's very harmful. Well, it's not necessarily harmful, but it's stressful on the toads.
Sure. Yeah.
And there's only so many toads.
Yeah.
And the demand for toad venom is really quite high. A lot of people want to do that.
Yeah.
But
They used to sell it online, right?
well, they're synthetic sources, and
Okay.
but they're Schedule 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
Again,
Yeah.
the drug war.
Yeah. Yeah, it all leads back to that.
All these people that want to have the 5-MeO DMT experience can't do it because the government says no.
Mm.
I know you're grown adults and you pay a lot of taxes and you live productive, useful lives, but no, you can't have that.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
And someday it's changing. Slowly.
Hopefully, yeah. I think it is. I think it's moving in that direction.
Well,
Feels like it, right?
At least on the state level.
Yeah. Well, starts
But,
there.
it's interesting. Oregon passed the psychedelic legalization. Yet now, more and more counties in Oregon are banning psychedelic services. And it makes me wonder, where did all these people come from that passed the original ordinance? That, were they all Portland? where they all, coming from the metropolitan cities, and now all of the rural counties, around the state are saying no, we don't want that here. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know where all the pushback is coming from,
Huh.
but I think that
Probably, I would say probably the
that
royal areas.
well,
That makes sense.
yeah, but that's going to be the I guess poster board of where the psychedelic movement will be
They
going.
don't want the look.
Well, I think that they have they will have the clinics there that will facilitate those services, and I think that there's still a lot of stigma,
Right. Yeah.
and people will associate those kind of clinics with like methadone clinics
Mm.
for the junkies.
But they have methadone clinic. Oh, okay. I see.
There's a negative stigma
right. Okay. I
associated
see
with
what you're
those
saying.
too.
Yeah.
So,
No. Well,
but
I think it just needs to take time. Unfortunately, these things take fucking forever.
well,
I think the new generation needs to get older. The older generation needs to move on, and things change that way.
I have a mental picture of what those places could look like.
Hmm.
I mean, if you had a place in Colorado at this, or even in Hawaii, I really saw it when we were in Hawaii.
Hmm.
Lush gardens, a lot of water, little fountains and waterfalls and things.
Hmm.
You know, a place that is cool, comfortable, warm,
Yeah,
friendly,
that's what you want for sure.
nature, and a nice chaise lounge, type of setup with
Mhm.
blankets and what have you. And then someone comes out and they give you a dose, and you put on the eye shades and you pull down the headphones. Music comes on, or maybe you don't do the eye shades and
That would be the
you watch the
perfect place.
sunset.
Yeah.
And you watch this beautiful sunset, and as the sun goes down and the colors in the sky and everything, and 4 hours, and somebody, hanging out in case something happens and you need some help. There's supervision.
See, but if you look at the weed laws of Hawaii, it's not legal like California yet. It's still, you need a medical prescription. So I don't know if something like that would ever start in Hawaii. But
Actually, I get this publication called Microdose,
uh
and it is basically a news update service, and they tell me about what states passing what laws and what who's doing what,
hmm
and Hawaii actually I think is
about to go legal.
making movements toward at least decriminalizing psychedelics.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Even before they go weed legal?
Maybe
Maybe they
Maybe
have to go through that first?
maybe medical psychedelics,
Mm.
something like that. Some type of. I think they're looking at Oregon. They're looking at that possibility. I think a lot of
Interesting.
people are looking at those possibilities because they want revenues,
Yeah.
and that could be if they legalized it and insurance accepted it. It's a win-win for everyone.
That's what I was going to say. It's a win-win. It's like,
It's good for
That's
the
what it
state.
seems.
It's good for the health of the people, but I see documentaries now where they're starting to do psychedelic therapy,
hmm
and it shows a person laying in a hospital bed with two people sitting next to
yeah,
him.
you don't want to be in a setting like
And
that,
it's
right?
just-
It's
yeah,
like doing a
with the-
psychedelic
with the lights
experience.
on and the
Yeah,
fluorescent lights
fluorescent.
over it, and I just like, what a terrible place
Yeah,
to trip.
yeah.
Then I
I
thought-
don't think you'd want that. Anybody would want that. Like you were describing how Hawaii just.
Yeah. So I started thinking about
Waterfalls and-
what could you do differently. Well, I can give me a plush garden
Yeah.
that overlooks the ocean at sunset
Yeah.
and call it a day.
Feels
And-
so government when you're in a fucking hospital room.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my.
and how cold and
You'd be
and
more-
unconnected.
Yeah, you'll be more worried about. I think you need a nice surrounding. Like
You need to be connected to nature.
Yeah.
And just being outside amongst the plants and the sky and the earth and the air and that's just a much better environment than in a hospital room,
Yeah, 100%.
which I thought was just, you guys, they're
Doing it all wrong here.
yeah, there's a lot of room for innovation, and I like that innovation
Yeah. You
possibility.
just don't want them to overstep or go the wrong direction
Well,
with a good thing.
but you can offer something if it's legal. Then that type of service becomes available.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that kind of service going to be denied in those counties in Oregon? Just of providing a facility, and people
Yeah.
could, average Joe, could go to a place like that with his own mushrooms. Yeah, I want to lease that chair for 6 hours at sunset.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be
Buy a
$200.
ticket. Yeah.
Okay, and then at least I'm just providing a chair.
Yeah.
I'm not providing drugs. I'm not providing anything. I'm just providing
Yeah.
a chair with a view.
I'm not even providing the sunset. That comes natural.
Right. I water the plants.
Yeah.
And I trim them back, and I clean the sheets on the chair,
Yeah.
and provide the music and the ambiance.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be wonderful. Well, all right, Greg. I think I got a tattoo appointment coming up, so I think we're gonna
Sweet.
call that a note there.
What are you getting?
And I think I'm just gonna get some filler over here. I'm gonna kind of fill this in with some sun rays, kind of
Cool.
connect everything.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've been checking a lot of tattoos lately.
You want to get one?
No.
No.
But I love tattoo art.
Looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I see people with tattoos, and I want to look at. Sometimes you don't want to be embarrassed, and hey man, let me see your tattoo.
Right. Yeah.
But
it's kind of like.
if I see something that catches my eye that looks like it's complicated,
Yeah.
it's like, hey man, let me check out your tat.
Yeah. I don't see.
People are just they're
yeah,
proud.
they'll
They'll pull up their sleeves like.
They
check.
can't wait to show you.
It's like,
yeah.
But actually, I did see one tattoo that was at Show Ink Masters, and this one chick, what was it, baby something? She did a jaguar that I could see on my thigh. That was awesome. It looked like
you could see yourself having
it. It looked like a photograph, and I said,
Really?
"Oh, that would look so cool on my thigh."
Yeah.
But
ayahuasca jaguar.
yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, my mom really likes that show too. Get stuck watching it with her sometimes. It's awesome.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And I like the creations. I mean, sometimes they screw up.
Yeah.
And that's you don't want to be the person that they screwed up on.
Right. I mean, even though they screw up, I mean, still
They're
good
still
artists.
good. And sometimes they're more critical than they need to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes you look at a great tattoo, and then they'll pick the shit out of it.
Yeah.
But still.
And then you start noticing it, and you're like, oh, it is bad.
But no, it's not even.
But it's not bad
even
yet.
that. It's their opinion of what was good.
Yeah.
My opinion is
So,
that's an awesome
yeah, it's,
tattoo.
it's subjective, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like that kind of art.
Yeah.
And the things that some artists come up with. I saw some Frank Frazetta tattoos. You know who Frank Frazetta was?
Mm-mm.
Frank Frazetta was a guy back in the 70s that did this like Conan Barbarian kind of art. I think
Okay.
he did the artwork for Conan.
Oh, really? Okay.
And
He was also a tattoo artist, or?
he just his art became
just his art.
popular in the tattoo
Oh,
art
okay.
world, and there was this chick that was on. It was a female on a I think it was a guy's shoulder. It was pretty big shoulder. Her with a sword, and she's like
Yeah.
just about to swipe. And that whole Frank Frazetta artwork.
Oh yeah, that's cool with the skulls everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, alrighty. Glad you came, man. This
Thank
was
you.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you come back again, and
Anytime.
love conversating with you.
Yeah. I dig it too.
Yeah. All right, man.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. See you later.
See ya.